Did we just shoot down a UFO? And it's funny, I never make this kind of video, but literally, this is what our headlines. Pentagon shoots down unidentified flying object over Alaska, and it's still a mystery. That's the headline. I'm not making it up. Did we just shoot down a UFO? I read another headline. U.S. shoots down unidentified flying object above Alaska. Again, did we just shoot down a UFO? Like literally, that's what it says. Identified flying object. And it's funny because in the headlines, they're not using the letters UFO, but literally they're saying identified flying object. And here's another headline. Mystery surrounds what exactly was object U.S. jet shot down over Alaska. And they have a little bit of details here, and this is according to ABC News. It was cylindrical and silverish gray, right? And then maybe gave a balloon-like appearance, floating without any sort of propulsion. I can't give a straight face. And if you told me the details of this thing, you said, okay, Chris, there's like this silver cylinder-looking thing, and maybe it's a balloon, and it's kind of floating around with no propulsion. Like, well, what does that signal to you? And it's funny, like I said, I never make these kind of videos like, did we just shoot down a UFO? But I'm just reading the headlines and conveying information to your guys' thoughts as well. I have a couple different theories on this though. So one, first theory is yes, we just shot down an alien UFO. So before I didn't say alien, but I am saying now. So one that would be one sort of theory, right? And they're kind of nervous about telling the public about this kind of thing. Okay, I think that's probably not the case, that we shot down an UFO from an extraterrestrial source. But I'll just throw it out there that you never know in this world. Number two, which I think is probably more plausible, let's say we did shoot down another Chinese spy balloon. Okay, for example, we just don't want to say it out loud because we don't want to be aggressive against a country that we're economically dependent on. I think that's another point. Number three, which I think could be a possibility as well, is that we shot down a friendly and they're under damage control and they don't want to share info on that. And those are sort of the three that I'm thinking to myself, what could have happened, right? So again, it's either UFO from sort of extraterrestrial source, and it's funny I'm saying this, but out loud. But I'm just reading the guys the headlines. Two, it was indeed Chinese, but we don't want to start a broader conflict or like that. Or three, we shot down a friendly. So these are just three things that I was thinking in my head that it could be. I want to get your thoughts on these guys as well. So I want to focus on markets and sort of like the more plausible one, which is Chinese related, something like that. And I think one of the things that is interesting about our markets right now is when we first shot down the spy balloon thing, I expected actually the Chinese equities to just really take a hit. And I was thinking it through, and I saw this headline. So you can read it here together. Ford plans to build EV battery plant in Michigan with Chinese partner. Is that, and I'm sure it's obvious to you guys, it's just that the partnership between USA and China is just so deep. Any kind of disruption at the political level makes it very, very difficult to do business around the world. And so many, jobs in the USA, so many jobs in China, right? Jobs are in both countries that depend on good relations between the two. And I feel like, and I mentioned several times on the channel that the USA is trying to pull away from China and make relationships with other countries, but it's just not necessarily going as fast as people would like. And I think the pandemic kind of slowed that down. Let me give you examples. So we were in North Carolina just a few months ago, and it's an example that a lot of people don't talk enough about, but it's a real thing. There is a Vietnamese company, and you guys know I'm Vietnamese, and we lived in Saigon, but it's called VinFast, and they're going to be making cars in North Carolina. And it's just funny because for many Americans, they think of Vietnam as only being the war, essentially, and then that's it. Like, there's so much people running around in the jungle, and that's Vietnam. But today's Vietnam is very, very different. We were just there, and I'm just telling you, it's developing very, very quickly. And they are bringing jobs to USA, which is unheard of, right? A Vietnamese company building a factory in USA to build electric vehicles. That just shows you how much the world has changed and can change. Let me give you another example. This is Taiwan Semi, right? A legitimate company, a major company from Taiwan. They're building a factory. Was it $40 billion in Arizona? This kind of thing. This is massive money, and it's interesting because I think too we're in a different world to where how people think about Asia is different than before, right? There's not just China in Asia. There's multiple countries in Asia. And it's funny that I have to say that out loud, but it's a real thing. Some Americans don't realize that there's other countries in the world. And I'm just give you this example, 3 different countries, right? China's a country, Vietnam's a country, Taiwan's a country. It's 3 different places. And, you're talking about sort of this interconnected economic stuff. And I go back to the UFO thing because I think that the more likely scenario is that this is a very touchy situation if it turns out indeed to be, a Chinese thing that we shot down and they just don't want to disrupt sort of their whole world system. But who knows, maybe we're going to start an intergalactic war and all bets are off. But regarding sort of like how we think about our market right now, it's still a crazy world because I flip around YouTube and I need to be honest with you guys, there's just so much dumb stuff out there. It's really, really frustrating. And I'll give you an example. This is Kathy Wood. And if you read the headline here, this is from Kathy Wood and ARK Invest. Just buy more Tesla stock if you want to cash in on the ChatGPT-driven surge for AI tech, Kathy Wood says. And it's like, what? And the sad thing is people are going to fall for this. Okay, so if you haven't been following the story, basically ChatGPT is like a chat bot, and the question is going to be, is it going to replace our sort of Google search engine kind of stuff, right? Because for years, we all use Google. Google is sort of how we get information, and information is key. And especially in, if you're looking for jobs, you're trying to learn about the world, you're doing anything. Even right now, you are watching YouTube, which is owned by Google, right? This is Google's a legitimate company. And, ChatGPT is coming out and Microsoft's announced they're going to be investing in it. And it's been a big sort of challenge to the world order, I guess you could say. And it's very funny because people are trying to jump on board this thing. Which I think you should, and I think AI is the future. I've mentioned that several times. But this idea, though, that I need to buy Tesla stock to take advantage of search engine and stuff, it seems like, what the heck are you talking about, Kathy Wood? And I get it. For the Tesla bulls, like, Chris, you don't get it. Tesla's more than a car company. They're going to take over Google. And it's like, okay, whatever. But the gist of it is that Kathy Wood thinks Tesla and FSD is the future, meaning full self-driving, meaning the robots are going to drive your car. But, Elon Musk has been promising this since 2016, and as Steve Wozniak was saying, you're looking at his watch, it's still not here yet. And basically you're talking about a bunch of lies. And so be very, very careful out there, guys, for these kind of people. It's the same with the people on YouTube who sell you scammy classes. There are people out there who will lie to you for money. That's the only way to say it. And just, if you sit down and just take it back, and it's like, how does this even make sense? Like, I want to take advantage of Microsoft and Google. Why am I buying Tesla now for ChatGPT? Like, what? But that's sort of the world that we live in. And, I try my best to tell you guys what's going on in the markets and understand the world as well, because, like, here's another example that probably didn't get a lot of headlines, these kind of things, but I'm sharing with you now just so you kind of get a sense of how to understand it. Hedge funds cut risky bets at fastest pace in 2 years. And so this might be an explanation of why our markets have been sort of skyrocketing in January. There's a couple. So one is at the beginning of the year, sometimes if people feel a bit optimistic and things like that, they're just like, okay, I'm going to throw a bunch of money in my market. It's January, etc. And then the hedge funds who are betting against the market, like, oh crap, look at all these people, throwing money in the market. We're kind of screwed. And so if you understand how this stuff works, is this basically when you short the market or take bets against the market, ultimately you have to close your trade eventually, right? And if someone does it and they all do it at the same time, it sort of causes these crazy surges in the market. But ultimately, over time, markets do trade at fair value. One of the things, though, that is a sign of an unhealthy market is when you see these massive swings. And this is very real. The Tesla stock went up, was at 80% a month. Like, how's that natural? And I laugh because it's so ridiculous. And yes, if you made money on it, fantastic. You guys are doing great. However, part of the challenge of the stock market, in the market that we're in right now, is you need to close your transaction, close your trade, right? So, like, buy low, sell high. If you only buy, and you're not selling, and the stock comes back down again, you end up either not making anything or lose. And that's sort of the frustrating thing about the market, that no one can tell you for sure, but I'm just telling you what other people are doing. The hedge funds are trying to get out of their positions, and that sort of caused the basically the run up. This is saying here, another headline: clock is ticking louder on stock rally the pros never believed in. And the basic gist of it is that we know that interest rates are going up, right? So it's not like my fantasies, it's just the reality. Interest rates are going up, they're staying elevated. The Fed says they're going to keep them there. And the question is, are companies going to make money, right? Because ultimately, right, how stocks trade is on the future profits of a company, the future cash flows of a company. Like, are they making money? That's the question. And you read these kind of headlines. I'll read to you guys. America's post-pandemic corporate profit boom really is over. And this should be as clear as day. The basic gist of it, and just ask yourself is, when you see all these warning signs about the economy, and that says consumers are under heavy debt, that people are losing jobs, that people are going from Goldman to driving Uber, right? These kind of things. Or also too, I mentioned it yesterday, that say the pandemic programs where we're being just giving money to people, right? Those are going to be ending. Do you think people are still going to be going shopping and things? And so it's not like the whole world's going to shut down entirely. It's just that the sort of crazy profits growth is probably going to end. It's not it's not hard to see. You see it in the numbers as well. So you can see this for yourself. So this is essentially looking at the S&P 500, the earnings report this season, and the black is how many companies were beating estimates, how many were missing, and how many met. Now, the key to understand here, there's a couple things to understand. So one is, this is on Wall Street estimates. So Wall Street can look at a company and they can say, oh my God, this company looks like that they're failing and we're going to have a low estimate. And they could beat that estimate, but they had a low estimate to begin with. So beats and misses are just mostly sort of like, did the company's earnings fall within expectations, yes or no? So one thing you can clearly see is that there are companies that are missing more than they did in the past. That is a really key thing. And so things aren't looking so great. So what's the big money doing? You can see here, BlackRock and PIMCO are saying, you know what, guys, inflation may not come down as fast as you want it to. Yes, the Fed wants a 2% target of inflation, but however, inflation may hang out the 3 to 4% for quite a while. And so what they're doing, they're recommending to people to get inflation-connected bonds. I'm just letting you know what they're doing. And but in any of these things, you always want to hedge your bets. Just don't put your eggs all in one basket, right? Have some cash, have some bonds, have some stocks. Make sure your job is doing good. Just throw some money in your savings account as well. As I mentioned, you guys, savings accounts are pretty good right now. Also, some are paying 4%. And, be okay and be level-headed about this stuff. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this stuff. And love to hear your thoughts on the first initial question is, did we just shoot down a UFO? So thanks again for your time, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.